Welcome to Appointment Setting 101, Strategies and Techniques for Success. So this is going to be your introduction to kind of some of our sales processes. I also want to take you into a couple of strategies that will help you spend these calls and actually continue the conversations whenever the potential customers or appointment actually starts giving you a little bit of reluctance, okay? So first off, as an appointment setter, your objective is to qualify the leads and set the appointment, okay? That is really your only objective. So you don't need to worry about really forming a real tight bond with these customers, trying to figure out who they're, all about their life, who their kids are, who their family is, when their birthday is, right? None of that is effective because your one and only goal is to identify, hey, do you have insurance now? You do or you don't? And whether or not they'd like to speak with somebody and get up-to-date information and a live quote according to their specific needs for affordable coverage. And if they do, and you can set that appointment, and then you will set the appointment as your second objective, right? So ideally, the appointment setter's first line of defense is, for this company. You guys are the ones who are going out there, you're calling up the businesses, you're making the initial contacts and evaluating, the effectiveness of whether or not we can actually get them some better coverage, or they're even an option for it, right? And part of that is qualifying, right? Who they are, where they're at. Really, are they on any meds? Do they have any, pre-existing conditions? Anything to that, right? That's your pre-qualification. And then again, once you have got all that and they've already agreed to the appointment, then you'll actually set the appointment time and date in the calendar so we can actually forward it over to one of the licensed insurance agents to give them a quote. Now, who are you calling? Now, you're actually going to be calling a very isolated few that really are highly qualified for U.S. Health Advisors plans, right? These are people that are in small businesses, typically less than 10 employees, because under 10 employees, you don't have access to group plans like you may have had or you may have seen with working for a larger corporation. The other aspect of people is people that are contract workers or 1099 workers. These are people that, again, they don't have access to group plans because they don't work for organizations that qualify for group discount plans, right? These are people that are roofers, they're plumbers, they're general contractors that are building houses, right? Or like I said, they're people that are working in smaller organizations that just don't offer health benefits, right? U.S. Health is designed to give them access to coverage at an extremely affordable rate compared to other providers that only offer group plans or that you're basically trying to get insurance from when you're a singular individual, right? Those group plans give you a tremendous discount on the typical rate to actually buy into these plans. So that's why you've probably heard some of the horror stories with people that don't qualify for a subsidy trying to go to Obamacare, and they're having to pay $600, $700, or $800, even $900 a month for themselves. Not alone, if they're actually talking about insuring a family, you can easily get into the thousands of dollars depending on what type of coverage and how many you're coveraging on there. So now our pitch is very, very simple, right? It's, hi, I'm Nelson Sparks, right? We're reaching out to local small businesses and contract workers regarding their health insurance. Everyone needs to have at least a catastrophic plan in place during these unpredictable times. Now, we are scheduling appointments to speak with a licensed health advisor to get you the most accurate information on coverage and cost. Is morning or afternoon better for you tomorrow? Okay, it's a very, very cut and dry script, right? Everybody needs health insurance. And even right now, it's even more imperative that business owners and people that have the capabilities either through loss through having their family getting sick or themselves getting sick, they need the added protection and added comfort of health insurance, right? A typical health emergency room visit can cost anywhere from $10,000 to $15,000. If you're admitted, it easily can range into the $20,000, $30,000 to $40,000 if you have to spend a day or two there, let alone actually in intensive care, like we're seeing what's happening with some of the pandemic issues that we're going through, right? So this is a very, very integral service for these customers. And really the only reason why they either don't have insurance right now is they either don't have access to it, they can't afford it, or for one reason or another, because of their health conditions, they couldn't find the coverage that they needed, right? So that's why it's even that much more important that we get them on the phone with a licensed insurance health advisor so that they can actually get them the specific quote that's specific to their needs and go in detail and answer those questions that they're going to have about the cost, the coverage, and the overall plan that you can't actually answer on the phone, right? So that's why, going back to that previous slide, I tell you that your only goal is really to qualify this customer, make sure they're a good fit, because they're either in the market for health insurance, they have health insurance that's too expensive, or they've been looking for health insurance that they couldn't get coverage for, right? Those three are really, and honestly, that's going to qualify just about everybody in the United States at this point, okay? So you already have that customer pre-qualified. Now your only point and your only goal at this point is to identify and provide a value prop about getting them insured and getting them coverage to protect their family and their livelihood. And their next goal is saying, hey, listen, we've got somebody that's going to give you a call tomorrow. Is morning or afternoon or better? You're not giving them an out. You're not giving them any sideways, any way to really object to anything, because at this point in time, everybody needs health insurance, right? And the only reason they shouldn't get on a phone call with a licensed health insurance agent is if they've got it for $100 or $150 a month, right? If they're getting a subsidy or they're getting a group plan, those are really the only two customers that we don't have the capabilities of really beating their plan. And the other alternative is if they can't afford it, and we can work with that. U.S. Health has some very, very affordable plans, and that's what the licensed health insurance advisor will be able to provide you in detail once you get on that phone. Now, one thing that you've kind of seen throughout this, as I've talked about the script and I've talked about some of what we go through, is I'm always acknowledging what their statement is, right? And then I'm making a statement to pull them back into the conversation. And then I'm asking a question to move that forward, right? It's what we call AMA, right? You ask a question, make a statement, or you acknowledge, make a statement, and you ask a question, right? So you're going to give that pitch to them. They're going to be like, hey, you know what? Unfortunately, I know, it's not a good use of my time to get on the phone with an agent because, insurance is just so darn expensive. Hey, I can understand insurance can be expensive. You've probably checked with Obamacare or something along those lines. But our agents have access to a variety of affordable plans, and it's best to speak with a licensed advisor so I can get you the most personalized quote and answer those questions. So is morning or afternoon better for you tomorrow? Right? You're constantly looping that back in to scheduling that appointment. And regardless of whatever that reluctance is, you're going to apply this same formula, whether it be like, oh, I just don't have time. Well, that's why on this call, we're actually going to get a whole bunch of information because I understand that you don't have time to be sitting here. So I'm going to get some of those core details. So whenever that manager or that licensed advisor calls you tomorrow, that they already have that quote ready to go and they can buzz through that, get you that information fast, effective, and efficiently so you have the most valuable information to make the decision. So is morning or afternoon better for you tomorrow, right? That is spin selling. That is always looping them back in there. And that leads us on to the next section, right? Spin selling. Spin selling, it stands for 4 kinds of questions successful salespeople ask their customers: situation, problem, implication, and needs payoff, right? We already know what the situation is. We already know what their problem is, right? So the implication is pretty simple. They either go get coverage and protect them families, or they don't get coverage and they open themselves up to a tremendous liability of getting sick, losing their job, or actually even be put in the hospital, right? The need payoff is very, very simple. You get coverage, right? And this works from a theory that the relationship selling is customer centric, right? It requires you to adapt your selling process to your customer, and it delivers personal solutions, right? So applying that AMA where you're acknowledging their reluctance, you're making a statement to let them know that you have empathy for their situation, and you're actually proposing a solution and proposing that next step. That's spin selling. You're providing value by addressing their situation, addressing their problem, identifying the implications and their pain point, and you're providing that valuable prop at the end by getting them on the line with a licensed health insurance agent that's going to get them the valuable information that they need to really make a valued decision on whether or not they need health insurance coverage from U.S. Health or they need health and coverage from anybody, right? So many of the industries that we target, right? These are the potential industries that fall into this 1099 and small business groups, right? It's builders, contractors, HVAC repair, plumbers, locksmiths, framers, Farmers even fall into it, right? Roofers, private physicians. That's a small business, right? A lot of physicians' offices have less than 10 employees. A lot of dentist offices have less than 10 employees. CPA firms, the same thing. There's many CPA firms, especially out here in Phoenix area, that are just 3, 4, maybe 5 individuals, right? They're not going to get access to really good rates from their group plans. So even if they do have a group plan, then US Health can probably beat their plan, right? And if they qualify, our coverage is bar none better than anybody, right? Real estate agents, as we're all aware of, they work really, really well with US Health leads, right? And then also mortgage bankers are a great prospect as well. So that wraps up really all our presentation on the sales and strategies and techniques that I want you to use, right? Please send me an email at nelson@leadgenis.com with any questions you have about anything we've covered. AMA is something that is probably one of the most valuable tools that you'll ever have in your arsenal as an appointment setter or as a salesman going forward, right? Because at the end of the day, the salespeople that are really, really successful are the people that acknowledge that reluctance, that they make an empathetic statement to let the customers know that they understand their plight and they understand the situation they're in. And then they offer a resolution. They offer other solutions to further that conversation. It doesn't mean at the end of the day that your customer isn't going to have additional reluctance, whether it be price point, whether it be time, whether it be kids or yelling in the background. The husband needs to be considered. The wife needs to be considered. You just don't know where you're at this time, where our finances are at. There's a lot of different scenarios, but I promise you, if you will apply that AMA, where you're acknowledging their reluctance, most salespeople, where they fail is whenever they actually just bypass that reluctance. Many customers are going to give you reluctance just as de facto. Can't afford it. My wife she's not here, right? I don't need it even. And most customers will immediately be, well, what about this, right? We've got this going in. It's the greatest thing in the world. It's better than sliced bread and it'll solve all your hunger needs. You ready to buy? Right? That is not a sales pitch, right? People will hang up on you all day long, right? So keep in mind as you're making these calls and you're making these conversations to slow down a little bit. Acknowledge their reluctance. Not everybody is just waiting for you to pick up the phone and call them to buy insurance or set an appointment to speak with one of our advisors, right? So you acknowledging that. And then you make a statement to make sure that you heard that, you internalize that, and that you empathize with what their statement is, and you're going to address it. And you address it within your next question in that statement, right? Like, hey, listen, I understand you weren't sitting by the phone waiting to have us call you to set an appointment with one of our advisors. But at this particular time, there's a lot of uncertainties in the health market and the job industry, and people need to make sure they're covered and protected. And that's what we're going to be able to give you the full extent of information to make sure you have all the details so you can make a wise decision for you and your family on what's best for you. And that's what our licensed health insurance agent is going to be able to provide for you. So is morning or afternoon better for you? And I'm always going to loop back to that. So, hey, guys, thank you for sticking with me again. Any questions, any comments, concerns, drop me an email at nelson@leadgenis.com. And we'll see you in the next training module. Thanks a lot.